It's The Log. I'm Charles Purcell. Getting close here. Merry Christmas time. Happy Hanukkah. That's begun. I think, are we in night 2 of Hanukkah tonight? I lose track of these things. Christmas on the way. The weather people are telling us we may be getting our first measurable snow coming up here, maybe this weekend. From my new perch on the 21st floor, I've got a nice view of the Milwaukee River and the surrounding woods. And then beyond that, the Milwaukee skyline downtown on the horizon. And just off to my left, in this panoramic view, I've got Lake Michigan. It's pretty nice. We had a dusting of snow a few days ago, and that was awfully pretty from my vantage point. I can just imagine what's in store here. Looking forward to it. I don't have a tree. I always have a tree, but so far I don't. Usually the tradition for many, many years was to get the tree on the Friday after Thanksgiving. Yeah, for all of my radical politics, I'm a very traditional guy. I'm a softy when it comes to Christmas. The Norman Rockwell childhood memories run pretty deep. Small town Wisconsin, big family, lots of kids, big house. Oh yeah. Yeah, I could wax pretty poetically about all of that. So it's pretty hard to shake. Not that I want to shake it, I don't. But yeah, I don't have a tree, and I have downsized now from the house to the apartment, so I'm not sure where I'm going to put it. Maybe I'll figure something out this weekend. Be nice to have it up by Sunday when we tune in. We're all going to tune in to a Charlie Brown Christmas, right? Christmas time is here, happiness and cheer, da-da-da-da-dee-dee-dee, a better time of year. Oh man, the music, holy hell, Vince Guaraldi, what a genius. Yeah, Charlie Brown Christmas, you remember that whole story, a big flack because one of the evil streaming companies bought it. Won't even name them, I don't want to give them any pub. I'm philosophically opposed to paid streaming services. And it caused such a flack that PBS stepped up to the plate and said, we'll play it. We'll put it on public television. Free public television, as God intended. So they made a deal with the aforementioned evil streaming service and will air Charlie Brown Christmas Sunday, this coming Sunday, at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So for my friends on the West Coast, I don't know what that means, actually. Check your local listings. Maybe 6:30, maybe 7:30. I don't know where they're going to put it for my friends in California. And, of course, that goes for everybody, regardless of your locale. I've got friends all over the place. Friends in New York, North Carolina, Texas, Minnesota. Oh, I got friends. I got friends everywhere. I've been watching my Christmas movies the last couple of nights. I have a list that I watch every year. Again, I'm a very traditional guy in many ways. And this list is very unimaginative. I mean, it's everybody's list. So this is no great brag about how cool or unique I am. No, this is pretty standard stuff. White Christmas. Saw that the other night, of course. Bing and Danny Kaye. Rosemary Clooney, Vera Ellen. What a nice quartet. I'd like to stay up with you, but I recommend a little shut eye. Go to sleep and dream of snow. That was my favorite moment, I think, when I was a kid. That little descending line that Bing sings. I had to practice it over and over before I could get it. What's he doing? That's beautiful. Da 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 da. That's not easy. That's not easy for a kid to sing. It took a while for me to figure that one out. Thank God they don't do blackface in the minstrel number. Mr. Bones, how do you feel, Mr. Bones? Rattling. Mr. Bones feels rattling. Ha ha. That's a good one. Tell a little story, Mr. Bones. Yeah, they do this big minstrel number. Thank God they didn't do the blackface like they did in Holiday Inn, which was several years earlier. Now, of course, Holiday Inn is also on my list of movies. That's Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire. Oh, but that didn't age very well. No, White Christmas ages great, for the most part. For the most part. You know, these old movies, you're going to have sexism and racism and all sorts of isms that make you cringe a little bit. White Christmas ages pretty well. But oh my goodness, Holiday Inn. Are you familiar with this movie? Very good movie. Very old-fashioned, black and white, very heartwarming. But yeah, the character that Bing plays buys this big old inn and turns it into Holiday Inn, and he puts on big shows. He's in show business. He puts on big shows only on the holidays so he can be lazy the rest of the year. That's the premise. Well, they do a big show for Lincoln's birthday, and the whole damn thing, everybody, the band, all the dancers, Bing himself, the leading lady, everybody's all in blackface. Oh, mercy. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty twisted. So that one's just filled with great music and dancing. It's the one where Fred Astaire does his famous 4th of July dance with the fireworks, where he's pulling the fireworks out of his pockets, tossing them on the floor, bang, 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 dancing with them. Oh, it's fantastic. But the blackface number, they can't really edit it out of the movie because the movie then makes no sense. Bing puts the leading lady in blackface in order to hide her from Fred Astaire, who's trying to steal her. So they have to put on this big show. So he gets this bright idea, well, we'll do it in blackface, then he won't recognize her. So it's absolutely integral to the plot. Without that scene, the movie makes no sense. So they can't really cut it out. So I don't know. I know the movie now. I know the plot. So I can just skip forward, which is what I do. What else is on my list? A Christmas Story, 1983, of course, with the famous lamp and the Bumpus's dogs and the kid who can't put his arms down because he's so bundled up in his snowsuit. Just 100 great moments in that movie. Maybe the best of the whole bunch. A Christmas Story is just fantastic. It's really, really good. I never skip that one. I always watch that one every year. The one thing about Christmas Story that I noticed right from the beginning, the father seems kind of old. This is an older father. Darren McGavin plays the father. And I looked it up. I checked him out on, I do this often if I'm watching a movie or a television show, or if just a thought springs to mind. You do this, right? Everybody does this. You pull out the phone, click up Wikipedia, answer your question right away. Hey, Siri, how old is Darren McGavin? I don't use the Siri, though. She's turned off. I don't want anybody listening to me all day. I've got Siri turned off. But yeah, I checked it out. He was 61 years old when that movie was released. The woman who played his wife, I forget her name, was 44. So this is very common in those days and still today. There's always this age difference between the men and the women. So not crazy. What is that? 15 years? 61, 44? Something like that. 17 years? But I always thought, yeah, he looks kind of old for this part. He was great in it, though. He made it work. Oh, speaking of age difference, I looked this one up, too, because I was curious. Bing Crosby was 51 years old when White Christmas was released. Rosemary Clooney, his love interest in the movie, was 26. So, a 25-year difference between these two. Now, as far as stage persona, I suppose he could have passed for 45, even maybe 40. I don't know. He looked pretty good. A little bit pudgy. And Rosemary Clooney had this very mature look. She was only 26 years old, but she looked 40. Easily. She definitely had a mature look. So as far as what we're seeing on screen, it's not that sort of creepy thing that so many Hollywood stars do, where they insist on having leading ladies that could be their daughters, which happens pretty much all the time. Clint Eastwood, guys like this. But yeah, there was a 25-year difference between the two when they made that film. Well, let's see. Okay, the classic of them all, It's a Wonderful Life. What can you say? It's the greatest. We love it. Alfalfa is even in in the movie. Yeah, you know the guy who gets angry at the dance and he turns the key to open the floor and they all fall in the pool? Yeah, that's Alfalfa from The Little Rascals. Remember Alfalfa and his girlfriend Darla? This goes, oh man, how far do they go back? The 1920s? Early 30s? This is really, really old stuff. I'm not sure what age range you have to be in to be fully aware of The Little Rascals. Those films became very popular when I was a kid. I'm not sure where I saw them, somewhere on television. And so a lot of us know all about Alfalfa. A lot of people, all they know about The Little Rascals is Eddie Murphy's version of Buckwheat. That's a Little Rascals character. Oh, Tay. But Alfalfa was the white kid with the black hair and the big cowlick coming out the middle, top of his head. The object of my affection who changed my direction from white to rosy red. So there's your It's a Wonderful Life trivia. I don't know what else is to be said about It's a Wonderful Life. It's just great in every way. And Donna Reed. Oh, mercy, Mother Mary and Joseph, Donna Reed. Lord God in heaven. Donna Reed. Oh, from the first moment I laid eyes on that woman as a young kid, the stirrings. I saw Elf the other night. I think maybe I'm going to take that off my annual list. Every year it gets weirder and weirder. Of course, that's the Will Ferrell vehicle. And there are lots of great things to say about Elf. I mean, it's beautifully shot. It's really kind of wonderful. The animation in the beginning is great, up at the North Pole. I love the Norwal scene. Goodbye, buddy. Good luck finding your father. It's a great little moment of that film. And Zooey Deschanel is just brilliantly beautiful and sweet, and their relationship is very nice. And it's got the classic, James Caan is so great as the guy who's lost his Christmas spirit and finds it. And the relationship between Elf and the little brother is cool. And there are lots of really wonderful things. And I think that's why I liked it so much. And Will Ferrell's a funny guy. And then these smaller parts, I mean, come on, Ed Asner as Santa Claus? What's more brilliant casting than that? And everybody's favorite, Bob Newhart. Well, my favorite. I love Bob Newhart as Elf's adopted dad. I mean, just so many good things you can say about the movie. But there's the one thing that just is killing me about this, and I think maybe I've seen it for the last time. I think I might put this on hiatus for a while. It's just way too stupid, and I just can't take it. The problem I'm having is the inconsistency with the logic. Every film has to have a certain amount of logic, even fantasy films. They have to have their own internal logic. They have to sort of set the rules. Okay, this is how far we're going to go. Can people fly? Yeah, they can fly. All right, that's baked in now to the internal logic of the film. People can fly. Good, we're fine with this. Even something like Birdman with Michael Keaton that came out a few years ago. You're never exactly sure what the internal logic of the film is, but it reveals itself over time, and by the time it's all said and done, you go, yeah, okay, the internal logic was consistent. The fantasy versus reality, it all made sense when it was all said and done. Okay, that's the responsibility of every film. That's the premise I'm working on here. I believe. And there's no internal logic at all to the elf character, to Buddy, the elf. When he's at the North Pole, he's kind of a klutz. He's the worst toy maker. And yet, now when he comes to New York and is living with the family and working at Gimbels, now all of a sudden he's a genius toy maker. What happened? They had to bust him down to Jack-in-the-Box tester at the North Pole, and now in New York he can build these little hobby horses. He redesigns the entire toy department of Gimbels, even creates a minutely perfect Mona Lisa on an Etch-a-Sketch. Where did all this skill come from? It makes no sense, and it bothers me. I can't abide. At the North Pole, he was a cotton-headed ninny-muggins, or is that what he calls himself? Something like that. Also, his surroundings at the North Pole, everybody seems relatively nice and sweet and normal. All of the elves, Santa himself, everybody's pretty nice and pretty normal. They're not insane. So how did he become this insane person who does the most ridiculous, inappropriate things? You know, sure, you can have your fish out of water premises, not understanding how New York works. But would it suddenly turn him into a maniacal, crazy, insane person? No. His adopted father, Bob Newhart, was a very calm, nice, sweet guy who raised him. All of his elf friends were nice and normal people. He gave no indication of being nuts. But Will Ferrell, the comic, had to just take all this over the top, and it just makes no sense. And it's not really all that funny. It's not worth it to destroy the inner logic of the film. You could have made a very nice movie without it. As you can see, this is very important to me. I've defended Will Ferrell over the years, and I've defended Elf over the years for people who because there are a lot of people who just really hate Will Ferrell. But I've defended him over the years, but I think I'm done defending this movie. Zooey Deschanel forgives him way too quickly for walking into the women's locker room. Come on. That's just, that's not cool. That's another thing that doesn't quite make sense in the logic of the film. She needs to be a little nuttier, a little crazier, or he needs to be a little more normal for them to get together. For her to find the charm of Buddy, I'm not buying it. We had some lazy script writing in this film, and it really became all about Will Ferrell being funny. Because again, all the charm is there. The supporting cast, very good. The Finding Christmas Spirit, very good. Nice little cliche, sweet stuff. But I think I'm taking Elf off of my list for a while. I'll revisit it again a few years down the road and see what I think. What else is on my Christmas movie list? Miracle on 34th Street, 1947, Natalie Wood as the little girl. Yeah, it's okay. It's good. It's classic black and white. I like old classic black and whites. It's got a trial scene. I'm a sucker for a trial scene. I love trial scenes. And then, here's one that is a little bit weird, although it's become more mainstream in the last few years, and that's Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. If you're not familiar, you should check it out, especially if you're a fan of the it's so bad it's good genre. This is a 1964 B-movie, sci-fi. Just as the title suggests, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Premise of the movie is the children of Mars are unhappy. They just don't have any spirit, any fun in their lives. So they decide to come to Earth and kidnap Santa Claus so that he can bring joy to the children of Mars. Which is exactly what they do. And most of the movie takes place on Mars, where Santa Claus and two Earthling children who stowed away on the spaceship are now captive on Mars, and they're teaching the Martians the joys of Christmas. And all sorts of adventures ensue, and I won't tell you how it ends. I won't give you any spoilers. But it's really wonderfully horrible, and I guess they're trying to be funny. I discovered it, as most of my contemporaries did, in, sometime in the 90s when Mystery Science Theater 3000 aired it on one of their episodes. And now since I've found the film itself without the MST3K commentary, and it's become an annual staple for me, and I provide my own commentary. So if you like really, really horrible, bad B-movie, sci-fi, trying to be funny, black and white movies, yeah, you want to watch Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. You'll enjoy it. You'll have a good time. And then, what else? One more. These are in no particular order. Then the last one on my list here is Scrooge, the 1951 version of A Christmas Carol. This is with Alastair Sim playing the lead role. And many people agree. Again, nothing unique here. I'm not claiming any special privileged knowledge. Many people agree. This is the quintessential film version of A Christmas Carol. Scrooge with Alastair Sim. Yeah, love that. The end of that film, there's a song playing at the party when he's had his big transformation, the morning of Christmas, of course, and then later in the day he goes to his nephew's house for the party that he's been invited to. And for years and years, I was haunted by this melody. Da 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 da. And I thought, oh, that's the most beautiful melody I've ever heard. And I never knew what it was, and I was a kid, and this was before you could just pull out your phone and with a couple of clicks, you can just find out what a song is. And I would ask people. I would hum it for people. Do you know this song? And people didn't know it. And I lived in a small town. Nobody knew anything. And finally, it took me years to discover, oh, of course, that's Barbara Allen. One of the great songs in the history of humankind. Goes so far back, people don't even know. The experts, researchers can't even tell us exactly where it comes from. Scotland, Ireland, UK, somewhere, way back in the day. It's one of the longest lasting, most endearing melodies of all time. Several versions of the lyrics. It's about Barbara Allen, who rejected the love of poor, sweet William, and he eventually dies, and then she dies, and they're buried side by side. Yeah, that's Barbara Allen. 'Twas in the merry month of May, when green buds all were swellin', sweet William on his deathbed lay, for the love of Barbara Allen. Yeah, just a wonderful discovery of my musical life. And I knew the melody for years and years before I discovered its origin. And I knew it from that film, from that 1951 Alastair Sim as Scrooge. So there's my Christmas movie list. Take what you will of that. Well, let's see. What happened today? It's Friday, of course, so it's our Friday shout-out to Greta Thunberg. School strike week 121. Greta posts this. Tomorrow marks 5 years since the Paris Agreement. 5 years of inaction and creating loopholes. We can't go on like this. Time to move from distinct net zero targets to real zero, with binding annual CO2 budgets starting now. Hashtag Fight for 1.5 and hashtag Fridays for Future. Yeah, the 1.5 referring to the goal. We got to keep temperatures down for years and years, and still in officialdom, the number is 2. But it's got to go to at least to 1.5. So thanks to Greta Thunberg. It's our Friday shout out to her and the Fridays for Future movement. Again, it's that time of year. You know what? I'll link this to the Charles Purcell Facebook page. 2020 year in photographs from AP photographers, Associated Press. Yeah, they have published now, and you can see them online. Best photos of the year. Yeah, it's always a really good show to see the AP's annual list of photos. It's quite an experience. So I highly recommend you check that out. Again, I'll link it to the Facebook page. I'm looking at them right now. I'm scrolling down. I can't do justice. I can't even begin to describe with the necessary heft the power of these photographs. They're very, very good. So please, please check that out. AP 2020 photographs. Bernie is back on the Senate floor fighting for us, just like he did for the original CARES Act. Any of you who got the supplemental unemployment benefits, you have Bernie to thank for that. He fought and he fought. And he's still fighting as the current relief bill continues to stall. Mitch McConnell and the Senate Republicans, of course, firm, holding steady on keeping the price tag low. They don't want help for cities and states. They don't want direct payments. Any extended unemployment benefits or supplemental unemployment benefits they want gone or as low as possible. Their top priority is liability protection for their corporate buddies. That's really all they care about. And by the end of today, by midnight tonight, Congress has to have some sort of spending bill or we have a government shutdown. Merry Christmas. So there was some talk of combining the two bills. I'm not sure if that's still in the cards. Probably not. They'll find a way to punt. But yeah, Bernie's out there fighting for us. He's fighting for direct payments, fighting for unemployment. We love Bernie around here. We love Bernie. Oh, Time Person of the Year. You've probably heard by now. Biden and Harris. I don't remember if this has happened before. Have we had a duo named Person of the Year before? There have been non-people or groups of people named Person of the Year. And in the running this year was the fight for racial justice, which would have been a very logical pick. I'm not going to quibble about this. Fauci, of course, Dr. Anthony Fauci was on the short list as well. I think this makes sense. Biden and Harris as a team, I like that. Biden alone probably wouldn't have been happy with. He just was the guy who happened to be there, the last man standing on the Democratic side. Old white guy. The election was much more about the Orange Menace than it was about Joe Biden. The vitriol, the hatred of the Orange Menace came through. So if it was just Joe Biden alone, that would have been a poor choice. So I think the editors over at Time made a pretty good decision here to make it Biden and Harris, because Kamala Harris is the person who makes this all palatable. Together they represent the broad coalition you and I are always talking about that put Joe over the top. Without every component of that coalition, it wouldn't have happened. Each and every one of those components was necessary. And Kamala Harris checked a lot of boxes. Not that she necessarily put Joe over the top. Again, it was really more about hatred for the Orange Menace. But going forward, at least it's very nice window dressing, at the very least. She can represent a new generation. She's in her 50s, so but compared to 78, it's a whole nother generation. It's not exactly youth. She ain't AOC. But yeah, relatively speaking, we get a generational bump. Persons of color, women, obviously. So it gave this coalition something to hang its hat on, the vice presidency of Kamala Harris. So I think Time Magazine did the right thing. I think they made a good decision. All right, well, back to the Christmas movies. Gonna try to have a nice weekend here. Maybe I'll get a tree. Watch a little Charlie Brown, listen to a little Vince Guaraldi on Sunday night on PBS. The only network you really need. You need PBS and you need your local community radio station. And outside of that, that's really all you need. That's all you need. All right. Have a great weekend. I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.